going on, Internet? This is JD coming at you another video from Redskins Rant. Hail to the Redskins. This is a video trying to go over what I think the Redskins should do in this offseason. Okay, we're going to play a game. Okay, the game is Bruce Allen's fired, and I'm hired as the I'm hired as the GM of the Redskins. And my goal is to make the Redskins competitive this year and set themselves up for future success. Okay. So to do that, I'm going to have some rules that I follow that I plan on using to try to better the team and to just set ourselves up financially and then personnel-wise going forward. So some of those rules, and are not going to be popular. This is not going to be popular. I posted some of these opinions in a Redskin group, and my God, you'd think I demanded the team name get changed and moved or something. The people don't understand like football and how football. You have to do certain things in football, okay? The way the NFL is designed, the way the cap's designed, there's certain things you have to do to be successful. And a lot of the times in this video, you're going to hear me say, what would the Patriots do? Now, they're the most successful franchise, I think, ever in the pro football history. The only comparison, really, they got the 10 years of they got the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, and the 80s, and in the early or late 70s, Joe Gibbs was a very successful era for the Redskins. They were very competitive the entire time. You have the 70s Steelers. I don't consider Steelers one of the greatest, the most consistent franchises. So you have the 70s stop, and then it has nothing until like 2000s. Okay, and that's just my opinion. So I don't like the Steelers, so that's a bias there. So Patriots are the most successful team in NFL history, especially during the most salary capped, hard capped era. Now, what do they do to be successful? So I'm going to use some of their principles. One, they don't keep people over the age of 30 unless they're a quarterback or unless they're still valuable and they're not like holding up the salary cap and not costing a lot of money. Okay, so that's going to be very crucial in some of the decisions I make. Okay, two, he also doesn't like having high salary cap. He likes having draft picks. Bill Belichick views every draft pick like a lottery pick. Okay? So he does what he can to accumulate more draft. You realize he doesn't trade player for player very often. He trades player for draft pick or picks. Okay? Even if it's like just one pick, he'll take it because he trusts his ability to judge talent better than the other team's ability to judge the talent that they've already drafted. Okay? So there's a lot of things I'm going to go over in this video, okay? One of them is the Redskins salary cap situation, and I hope to free up some of that salary cap. I'm not going to go over too much of free agency. I'm going to do it on the fly because I really didn't plan it until this very second. I didn't think of it. But I don't think we should spend too much in free agency unless we get someone like very dynamic, and I'll go over that when it happens. So the first thing that I'm going to do is look at the salary cap, go over it, see what we need and what we don't need when it comes to what the Redskins can actually do to better themselves this coming season. Okay? So the first thing I do is look at the salary cap and who's taking up the most money. Alex Smith is taking up $20 million. Now, we can't do anything about that. He's got the dead cap on cutting or releasing him or trading him, which we can't trade him because he's injured, is $42 million. We cannot trade that. We can't touch that. That would just we couldn't sign anyone, and we wouldn't be able to get rid of anyone else. That would really screw us over. So, getting rid of Alex Smith would be ideal. Just be done with it, move on. We can't. Okay, maybe next year we could, because $42 million isn't going to cost us as much next year. But if we cut him right now, he costs us $42 million, and that's just not financially smart for us to do. Maybe I should go over this more in depth. We have $20.5 million available. Well, $20.6 million available to us in the salary cap. So, cutting Alex Smith, if it was like there's no dead money, the problem is there's guaranteed money. If there was no guaranteed money, we wouldn't have an issue. But the fact that he's already had a signing bonus and all those things, he would cost us $42 million in this salary cap, so we'd be negative this year, and it wouldn't be worth it. So, next person, and this one's going to be very unpopular, okay? And I'm agreeing with a lot of you, but you got to hear me out. Trent Williams. Trent Williams, yes, he is one of the best offensive tackles in the league. I agree with that wholeheartedly. However, he will be 31 before the season begins, before training camp. He'll be 31. The last 2 years he's been injury prone. He's gotten injured last 2 years. Okay, the whole offensive line has, to be fair, but he's gotten injured the last 2 years. He's 31, and the way I'm viewing this is, does he have trade value now? Yes. If he has another year of getting injured, one, he's going to cost us money. Two, we have no trade value for him. Okay? Now, I just went over in a little bit of detail that we're having an issue with quarterback. Alex Smith is not playing this year. In our wildest dreams, he may come back the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season, but he is not playing this year. So I have a solution that I think the Redskins should do to try to get a quarterback and also try to move out from under Trent Williams a contract. It only costs us $5 million dead money, but we would gain back $9 million. So the total profit would be $9 million. Okay, so we'd raise our salary cap up to about $30 million. Okay, trade Trent Williams, get on the phone and call the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, everyone says Nick Bosa. I think they're going to draft Kyler Murray. Get on the phone with them and offer them Trent Williams, and we take Josh Rosen. Give them Trent Williams. Okay, I'll say it again. Trent Williams. Okay, we'll take Josh Rosen and a couple draft picks. Josh Rosen's only getting paid $4 million. That'd be a very cheap quarterback who's got a year of experience, and I think Jay Gruden will do better with him than who he had last year at coach. I think we would do a lot better with Josh Rosen than any other option out there except for maybe Nick Foles, but I think Nick Foles would cost us too much. This would save our problem because in the exchange, we would get we get Josh Rosen. It's $4 million, okay? We'd come out on top of this $5 million above what we went into it, and we might actually get a draft pick out of it. Okay, so that's where I believe that he should go. Trent Williams. Now, obviously, that's wishful thinking. They may not want to get rid of him. Maybe they want to go with Nick Bosa and put all their eggs in the Josh Rosen basket, so to speak, or maybe they just want to keep him around just in case and draft another quarterback later. I don't know, but that's where, if I was a GM, I'd give them a call and try to get that done. So the next person is Josh Norman. Okay, and again, I know Trent Williams is probably a Redskin Hall of Famer, and it's not going to be a popular opinion. But I'm thinking if he has another year of injuries, we can't trade him for nothing. He will be on our books, and he'll end up being a free agent, and we'll get nothing out of him after next season. This is the best way to get the most bang for our buck, get something for him. We might even be able to solve our quarterback problem, and maybe get a draft pick and save ourselves about $6 million in the exchange. So that's what I think we should do about Trent Williams. Again, I don't like saying that because I love Trent Williams. I think he's a great player. He's one of the best linemen we've ever had. But you got to think of it rationally. What is the ceiling for Trent Williams? He's good this year, and he might be good next year. Okay, the last 2 years have not shown that trend. Last 2 years have shown injury. Okay, so in 2 years we'd have to re-sign him, and there's nothing to say that we're going to get anything long term out of that. So I was saying trade him. We can always sign him back afterwards. We just have to do what's best for the franchise right now. Okay? Josh Norman is the next player. We can get rid of him and save ourselves about $8.5 million. I don't know where to trade him. You got to think of a team that would be a contender because he's only got 2 years left on his deal. Let me double check that. I think he's got 2 years left on his deal. Yeah, he's got this year and next year. So he's got to go to a team that is looking to compete now. Who would be a team looking to compete now? Maybe the Chiefs. They do need a corner. Possibly the Patriots. I don't think the Patriots will take him though. Steelers. That's actually a possibility I thought of. I was listening to the Junkies today, and they're talking. I'm like, why don't we just trade Josh Norman to the Pittsburgh Steelers for Antonio Brown? Yeah, we would probably take a little bit more. We'd take less on the salary cap part because Antonio Brown got paid a lot more money in the early parts of his contracts rather than the later parts. He got a lot of it front-loaded. So we could trade Josh Norman straight up for Antonio Brown. I wouldn't hate that because Antonio Brown's the best receiver in the league, in my opinion. Now, do I want that cancer in my locker room? Probably not. But if that's an option that we can get, I would love to take that. Because, I mean, and again, nothing against Josh Norman. I thought he's played pretty well for us. And for a 5th-round pick, he's overachieved. I just don't think that he, over the next 2 years, is going to be better than what he's been. And he has a little bit of trade value now, where we could trade him for a player or for draft picks and get something back. Because next year, he's definitely not going to be trade value, because no one wants to give up any kind of draft pick for a player who's been gone in 1 year. So that could be something I think we could do. I think we can get rid of Josh Norman. Best case scenario, we trade him to the Pittsburgh Steelers for Antonio Brown. Maybe even get a draft pick out of it. I don't know. But, and that would definitely help us with our receiver issue. Next person. Ryan Kerrigan is actually 30 years old now. I don't touch Ryan Kerrigan. I don't know why. Ryan Kerrigan is more of what we need on the Redskins. I'm tired of players, and the next player I talk about, will be a player that I don't think should be a Redskin anymore. Kerrigan is the ideal type of Redskin. He never misses a game. He plays through injury. He gives his all. You never hear him in the media. That's the kind of player we should want on our team. Those are the kind of guys we should want. Okay? Now, everyone can say what they want about Antonio Brown. That guy shows up to play football. Okay? That's what I mean by the type of guy that shows up to play football. Not there to get a paycheck, whatever case may be. The next player I want to talk about is Jordan Reed. Get him the hell out of here. That's my personal opinion on Jordan Reed. He has been injury prone. He can't complete an entire season to save his life. He's taken up 5% of our salary cap, and in my opinion, he is not worth it. He is not worth the headache of taking over our entire salary, or our 5% of our salary cap. Shoot, let me see if I can get this thing to load. I know he's still young, so that's why I say we trade him now, before he has another year of being too injured to get anything out of him. He's getting paid $9.6 million. We have to accept $3 million on the dead cap space, which I'm okay with. So get rid of him. Find someone. Someone will take him. The Patriots might have Gronkowski retire. They might take him. Take a chance on him. He is 28 years old, so he's still young enough to get value. Like I said, I don't like the fact that he gets paid how much he gets paid, and he's taking up 5% of our salary cap, and he never plays. That's like with Trent Williams. He's a good player, but he's 8% of our salary cap, and he hasn't played the last 2 seasons. If you're going to be 8% of the salary cap, you have to be on the field. It's like Alex Smith right now is almost 11% of our salary cap, and he's not even on the field. So the next person is Zach Brown. That's another one. I'd say even cut him. I mean, either way, trade or cut, we're going to lose $3 million. If you find a team that needs a linebacker, put him on trading block, see what you can get, cut him. Don't need him. He underachieved last year. Got his money. He got a good extension or deal or whatever you want to call it, and I didn't think he actually showed up at all last year. I thought he was atrociously bad last year for what we paid for him and what we invested in him. The next one's Paul Richardson. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about Paul Richardson. If we cut Paul Richardson, we owe $2 million more than we have to pay him this year. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it. Hopefully, let's cross our fingers that he's going to come out healthy this year. If he comes out healthy and hypothetically that trade goes through for Josh Norman and Tony Brown, we can have 2 speedsters on the field. And we're going to have another Paul Richardson, or we're going to have another like Juju Smith-Schuster and Antonio Brown. Okay, that's the plus side of that. Downside of that is he's injured again, but he cost $2 million more than it would be to actually just keep him on the roster and see what we have. Make him earn his money. That's my opinion. Morgan Moses. Honestly, cut him. I don't like Morgan Moses. I never liked Morgan Moses, and I'll tell you why. He has bad footwork. He's not very fast, and he had more penalty yards. He was flagged more than any other player in the NFL last year because he cannot stop holding. He doesn't move his feet well. He holds all the time, and that was really bad last year. There's times that happen in the worst possible times, because last year with the Alex Smith offense, we needed to get every yard and squeeze every yard we could out of everything. And it'd be 1st and 10, we run the ball, maybe not get a yard, but then we got to start 5 yards back because Morgan Moses can't not hold somebody. So, my opinion, get rid of him. That's my personal opinion, get rid of him. So, I need a calculator so I can kind of figure out how much cap space we've gained. Let me bring it up real quick, and I'll figure out how much cap space we've gained. My phone's being weird. There we go. Okay, so we started out with 20 million. $20,588,330. Okay, that's exactly what it is. So with the Trent Williams trade, hypothetically, let's say we get Trent Williams. Okay, we gain 9 million, 9.5 million, 9.5, 9.2. $9.2 million. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that puts us at $29,788. We add in, I'm going to round up with Josh Rosen's salary. He's about $4 million. Okay, we get rid of Josh Norman. Let me see real quickly, how much Antonio Brown's getting. This is just hypothetical. Okay, Antonio Brown makes, this coming year, he makes $15 million. So it's pretty much a swap between the Redskins for Norman. It's literally a difference of $1 million, so minus $1 million. Okay, so now we're at $24 million. We either trade Jordan Reed or get rid of him. Let's just say we cut him. It's just worst case scenario, we have to cut him. So let's get rid of him. That is $6 million. Just rough estimate, $6 million. So now we're back up to $18 million. Oh no, I subtracted that. Dang it. Hold on. Sorry. Okay, sorry. I had to gather my bearings with my calculator. So right there, Redskins up to $30.8 million. Zach Brown, hypothetically, let's just say we cut him. If we cut him, we add ourselves another $5.7 million. Now we're up to 36. Morgan Moses. I mean, really, if we cut him, it literally is the same amount of money. So it saved us $1.2 million. Okay, Vernon Davis is the next one. So right now we're at $37 million that we have in salary cap. Vernon Davis, last year, I like Vernon Davis. I really do. He's one of my favorite players to watch. But last year, he really underachieved. He dropped a lot of passes in big moments, a couple touchdown passes, and I'm sorry, I like Vernon Davis, but I just can't. If he takes a pay cut, I'll keep him. Sure, cut $3 million off your salary. But right now, the Redskins could cut him and save themselves $5 million. So let's just say the Redskins cut him. And I actually like our young tight ends. The young tight ends we have, I have no issue with. Okay? So going through that's like our top 10 in salary that we have. So top 10 in salary. Let's just say we didn't get any draft picks. We got the trades I was talking about. Okay? Quentin Dunbar. Everyone else in this is actually pretty good deals, so I'm not going to get too much into it. Stacey McGee, he's not costing too much. We would save $2 million by cutting him. He's not costing too much. He's a good young player. Quentin Dunbar, he's only cost us $2 million. Good young player. Chris Thompson, good young player. Don't want to get rid of him. The only problem I have with him is he gets injured. He gets injured way too often, but he doesn't cost a lot of money that he's not a high percentage of the salary cap. Colt McCoy, you can cut him. I have a plan to replace Colt McCoy. Cut him. That adds $3.5 million to our salary cap. We have a really young core of receivers, or of defensive players. We really do. That we're going to have a young, good defense next couple years. Here's where it starts. Deron Payne is $3.2 million next year. That's one of the cheap, good defensive players we have. I'll get to that here in a minute. So there's one. Who else was a cheap defensive? Quentin Dunbar. That was a cheap one. Stacey McGee's cheap and good. And Josh Dotson. Okay, so Josh Dotson. I don't like Josh Dotson. But it costs us money to get rid of him right now. Let him play out his deal. I think he's got one more year in his deal. Let me see if it'll open. If he's got one more year in his deal and we can get it, maybe the light will, the switch will flip in his brain and he'll show. The thing is, he makes good catches sometimes. He makes like spectacular catches, and then sometimes he makes the dumbest things out. He does the dumbest things ever. He's very night and day, but he's shown flashes of being able to do it. Okay, next really good player, Jonathan Allen. That's really cheap on the cheap for us. Okay, Dustin Hopkins. I'm not going to get rid of a kicker that's been good for us. It would save us over $2 million, but I'm not going to get rid of a kicker that's been good. Mason Foster, I mean, he's only $2.2 million. So, don't get rid of him. I think we have Reuben Foster anyway, so maybe get rid of him in that regard, but it's only costing us $2.2 million. That's not enough for me to say just cut him. Tress Way was the best kicker in the league, punter in the league last year. Why would you get rid of that? He helped us with field position. He'll help us again this year. DeStasia Everett, I kind of want him gone. He's had plenty of time to show that he could do something. Let me see how old he is. He's 20. And he's still young. So I mean, if you want to hang on to him just because it's cheap, that's fine. Ryan Anderson is on a really good deal. He's only $1.4 million. Reuben Foster, love him or hate him, he's going to be a cheap, good linebacker for us. Nick Sudberg, long snapper, whatever. Keep him. Darius Geis, I mean, everyone else, I'm not going to go over everyone else on this. Cut Samaje Perine. Troy Apke. I mean, there's a lot of good young... Matt Ioannidis is $720,000. That's what he's costing us. So when I say that we have some pretty good players that are on the cheap right now that we can hang on to, we have pretty good players on the cheap right now, and we can build around that. And yeah, they're going to get contracts eventually, but yeah, I don't see why we need to hang on to players that are expensive when we have younger players that are definitely showing that they can do it, and we should just get more younger players and play the lottery a little bit, see where we can hit and what we can't. Play law of averages. You know, my old job, we used to play law of averages. You talk to 20 people, you get 12 of them to actually listen to the entire pitch for the product, you're going to get 1 or 2 signups. And it happened like that all the time. The numbers really didn't lie. And this is why I think you should get rid of both of our tight ends. Jeremy Sprinkle, I think, is a solid tight end. Solid tight end. Okay? And then, who's the other guy? I think it's like Matt Flanagan from the... yeah, Matt Flanagan. He's on a team too, and I think he did pretty well last year. Plus, we can draft another tight end. So I think our tight ends are fine. And plus, those two are blocking tight ends anyway. If we want to focus on running the ball, that's a better way to do it. Just get them to learn to catch the ball. We still have Greg Stroman. We still have Sean Deion Hamilton. We still have Tim Settle. Didn't even play much last year. Joshua Housley. We had another offensive tackle somewhere. I can't think of his name right now. I actually predicted we'd draft him. Not going to get too much into it, but those are the players that we have on the roster that are going to be very helpful. I'm going to go over some free agents that we have leaving our team. Ty and Secchi, if we can get them cheap, sure. So with what I went over, we would add about $26 million to our cap space. We'd fix our QB issue. We'd add a receiver, plus we'd possibly get some draft picks. Okay? If worst case scenario we cut them, we'd still have $26 million to our salary cap. Okay, so that leaves us $46 million that we can use towards our salary cap, that we can use to get ourselves better next year. Okay, so free agents, Ty and Secchi. I mean, if he's filled in nicely for us, so if we want to give him one good year deal and we have the cap space to do it, I'm not opposed to that. He's filled in wonderfully for us, and I think we need to reward stuff like that. He plays hurt. He plays any position you want. He comes in and gets the job done. Clinton Dix, let him go. I really think trading for him was the downfall of our season last year. We were 5-2 before we drafted him, or before we traded for him. Pernell McPhee, wouldn't be opposed to signing him another year. He didn't play horrible last year. He did pretty well. Preston Smith, let him go. Sean Laval, let him go. Adrian Peterson, if we can get him cheap, re-sign him. I'm okay with that. Austin, a lot of these guys are just backups. Austin Howard, Tony Bergstrom, these are guys who've got on one-year deals to replace our injured linemen. Michael Floyd, no. Crowder. Here's why I say no to Crowder. Because, first off, he underachieved last year. Now, granted, You can blame the quarterback on that. You can blame a lot of situations of why our receivers underachieved. But Jamison Crowder, just, I mean, if it's the price is right, yeah. I mean, if we can get him for less than like $8 million, yes. But I mean, if we're trading for Antonio Brown, then no. If we get Antonio Brown, let him go. We're gonna have Antonio Brown. We have to hang on to Paul Richardson because of money. We have to hang on to Josh Dotson because of money. So there's 3 wide receivers right there. And so now he's already the 4th one. Plus we already have Trey Quinn. Plus we have Cam Sims. There's a lot of young players we have. And I would say just let Crowder go. Unless we can get him for a really cheap deal. No one else on here. Byron Marsh, no. Rob Kelly, no. Yeah, so no one else on this list. Maybe Maurice Harris. And Zach Vigil. No one else on this list I'd really be interested in taking. So, let me look at the free agent list real quick, and I'm going to go over my draft picks. Okay? Let me see if it'll load. Okay, so that's going to load, so I won't go over that right now. I'll go over my draft picks. So here's what happened. I didn't add picks, so it's going to sound like I added like 20 picks for the Redskins. What I did is a website you go to called www.first-pick.com, and you can actually do a mock draft. Okay, I did this last year, and I'm doing it again this year. Use the same website, same engine. It doesn't allow you to trade players, so I wasn't able to trade like Trent Williams for like the 15th pick or 10th pick in the first round or something. You can only trade draft pick for draft pick, so it kind of limits you a little bit. But what I did was my first overall pick, I traded down. And I kept trading down until I got, it ended up being 4 second-rounders, 3 third-rounders, and a couple extra, a 4th, a 6th, and a couple 7th-round picks. Okay, so all in all, I believe I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 picks. Not counting, this is using the picks we currently have, not counting what we could potentially get for all the guys we would be trading away. Okay? So keep that in mind. So, the first pick the Redskins had was in the 2nd round, pick 9. This is why I said get rid of Colt McCoy. 2nd round, we need another quarterback. So I'm assuming all the things I've done to get us a quarterback have worked. Okay? We got Josh Rosen, and he's our guy going forward, so to speak. So I'm drafting with the 9th pick in the 2nd round, Will Greer. Quarterback out of West Virginia. I'm okay drafting this quarterback as long as he's not starting right away. I think he has potential. He's got a good arm. He can put it in some good windows. He's athletic. Okay? I watched a lot of Mountaineers last year, so I know a little bit about him. He sometimes gets a little flustered in the pocket, but that's because he's young. Okay? Plus his wife is gorgeous. So the next pick I had was the 14th pick in the 2nd round, and I drafted Paris Campbell, wide receiver over Ohio State, 6'4", good vertical, can run. Didn't really draft a lot of wide receivers. It said in there we needed a lot, but I didn't draft a lot. Now, this was the lowest grade. So what they do is every pick you get, based on where you got the player, what your needs are, and everything, they give you a grade. I got a B+ for the Will Greer, and I got a B for Paris Campbell. That's the lowest grade I got in this entire draft. So here's what the Redskins, we're not going to do it to this letter, but here's what we can get if we do things smartly. Okay? 2nd round, pick 22, I drafted Eric McCoy. He's an offensive guard / center. He can play either one, but I play him at offensive guard for Texas A&M. Okay? We need to fill those spots. We need a lot of young players to fill the voids we have when it comes to our offensive line. So I thought drafting one pretty high would be good. We drafted one last year. I can't think of his name right now. I can't think of what it is. If you hear someone in the background, it's my fiance. She's on the phone. She's working. I can't think of his name right now. Jerron Christensen? That's it, yeah. Which I think he could still do pretty well. He just needs some more development. So we'll see if he develops this year. And that's why also I think we should get rid of Trent Williams, because I think he could actually fill that role pretty well. In college, he didn't get a fair shake because he moved around a lot. The way their offense was designed, which horrible design at Louisville, they flipped the line consistently, so he's never consistently blindside or non-blindside on passing. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. In high school, we did that, and I don't think it makes sense at all to do that stuff. 12th 27th pick. I got an A on this one. Oh, I got a B plus on the Eric McCoy offensive guard. I'll text him pick. I got an A on this pick. Julian Love, cornerback out of Notre Dame. 27th pick in the second round. The next pick, 7th pick in the third round. Caleb McGarry, offensive tackle from Washington, A- on this pick. So there's 2 offensive linemen I think could be plugged in pretty early. I mean, if we get injuries, they're going to have to play anyway. So we might as well just get some decent offensive linemen anyway instead of signing people off the street. At least we can do is we can develop them and they can know our playbook throughout the season rather than just throwing them in at the last minute and hoping they can figure things out. Marvell Tell the third, free safety out of Southern Cal. I got an A on that one. 3rd round pick, 12th pick, 22nd pick in the 3rd round. Juwan Johnson, strong safety, Miami, got an A plus on that pick. Tight end, TJ Hawkinson, 4th round pick, 23rd pick in the 4th round. A plus is out of Iowa. Okay, so now that replaces another one of our tight ends. Now we have 3 tight ends. They're young. They can grow with our team, so on and so forth. Drafted another actually, this kid was a wide receiver, but he can play running back, so I think he can be a good hybrid. Kind of like, what's his name? Plays for the Saints. Alvin Kamar. Yeah, Alvin Kamar. So Tony Pollard. He's from Memphis. Memphis has a pretty spread offense. He's fast. He can play running back. He can play receiver. Put him at the slot. Put him in the rotation. He's just hard to cover in general. You're not going to be able to cover him. He can do a 5-yard out. He can do stuff out of the backfield. Work him into the rotation. The way I draft is I draft guys I think if we had to play them now, could they play and could they fill in the spots? That's the way I draft. That's the way I think about drafts. I think you could use that. Now, whether he'd be good at everything overall, no, probably not. Probably not good at pass blocking. Probably not good at blocking in general. Okay, but could you put him in for a play and he have an explosive play that gets us a first down or a touchdown? Sure, that's the point of it. That's going to happen. That's what we use Chris Thompson for. 7th round. I mean, these are just players. I got A's on all of them. A pluses on the last guy. A plus. Dontavius Russell from defensive tackle from Auburn. I got C plus or an A plus on him. J.C. Hassanier, Alabama center, A minus. And the last pick was Landis Durham, defensive end, Texas A&M. So I would say I went pretty heavy into the SEC. I'd say it's pretty heavy in the SEC. Now, the benefit of that is, and I acquired 2 first-round picks. That's what I acquired. With that, I acquired 2 first-round picks also in that draft because I traded down for my first-round pick for a pick next year. I traded down again for one later. Okay? So I got a 2020 first-round pick and a 2021 first-round pick. That's what I have left over. So there's literally like 14 players that we can throw in, okay, that we actually have a lot of cap space. And let's see if I can get NFL free agents come up. Agents. Okay, list of NFL free agents. Okay, I don't want to see that. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Okay, so, I mean, I think we filled a lot of our holes, and that's not even taking a look at free agency. So the NFL free agency, so this is on the same website I got everything else from. Antonio Brown's salary, so on and so forth. I need to take a picture of that, by the way. So there's a lot of players. I mean, I don't think maybe if there's any good offensive linemen available, that's where I would go. I mean, Spencer Long, apparently he got cut. So Spencer Long, I would sign him. I'd sign him back in a heartbeat. He would cost, it says $3.9 million. Based on the money that I've already been discussing, we could afford that. So and that would give us another good offensive tackle or center. Like I said, I don't want older guys. Older guys on the cheap, sure, but I'm not looking for older guys. Not looking for older players. Tony no. No one on this list is really ringing a bell for me. Yeah. So that's the only offensive lineman I would go for, Spencer Long. Let's see if there's anything else. Let's just take a look at quarterbacks, see what's available. I doubt there's any really good ones that we can get. I mean, what came up first was Tyrod Taylor. I wouldn't mind Teddy Bridgewater. If everything I just went over falls through and we have to sign Teddy Bridgewater, I wouldn't mind Teddy Bridgewater. Let's see how... I wouldn't mind Nate Sudfeld either. I mean, we initially drafted him anyway, so... Let's see here. So Teddy Bridgewater would cost $6 million. Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world having Teddy Bridgewater as our quarterback. Ryan Griffin, sorry. Robert Griffin. I wouldn't hate Robert Griffin coming back because I thought he did pretty well last year for Baltimore. Not Geno Smith. So there's not a lot of options, I feel, at quarterback. Nick Foles would cost $5.5 million. So, I mean, there's options. If you don't want to go the route of Josh Rosen, and I'm not really like sold on Josh Rosen. He's just a young quarterback that we could potentially get and fall into, and you never know. If you get a good offensive coordinator and he has a better offensive line, that's why I said trade Trent Williams. They had the worst offensive line in the league last year. Everyone's going to look and say, well, ours was bad too. Ours was injured. Theirs was not. Okay, we had a lot of injuries last year on our offensive line. The Cardinals didn't have any injuries on their offensive line. It was just atrocious all last year. So that's why I said trade him an offensive tackle that he's still good, and that might entice them to let go to Rosen. They draft their quarterback. We have our quarterback. And we draft one in the second round as a backup, or if Josh Rosen doesn't pan out, we can actually eventually start Will Grier. So unless if that doesn't work, go with Teddy Bridgewater or Nick Foles for a year. I'm pretty sure both of them would want a longer deal than 1 year, but they have to understand our situation. So Ryan Fitzpatrick I would not want Ryan Fitzpatrick on this team. I would not. I don't want Tyrod Taylor. I don't want Josh McCown. I would take Teddy Bridgewater, Nick Foles. I would take Robert Griffin III over Ryan Fitzpatrick. Okay, those are the three quarterbacks I would want in free agency because one, they're cheap, and two, Tyrod Taylor's $15 million. Screw that noise. That's not worth it. He's not worth it. So Teddy Bridgewater would be he made $6 million last year. So as a starter, he'd probably make $8. We can afford that. So that's where I think we should land on when it comes to quarterbacks. But I mean, if we can trade for a young quarterback and draft one and just build, I think that's much better. Demaryius Thomas is a free agent. I wouldn't go after Pierre Garçon. He's too old. He's 33. No one old. If he gets like a veteran's minimum, sure, but too old. Ryan Grant, no. He's older than I thought. He's 28. Wow. Ryan Grant, no. I can't believe he's actually a free agent now. Didn't he just get signed last year? He left us and signed with somebody. So, Cole Beasley. I actually would sign Cole Beasley. So, I mean, again, a lot of these are a lot of the things that I talked about. None of them played out. Martavis Bryant, I wouldn't hate signing him to $2 million for a good 1-year deal. But no one else in that list I would go get. No one else in that list I'll go get. Let's look at tight ends real quick, and then we'll look at offensive or defensive linebackers and things like that. No one on this list. Jared Cook, no, he's too old. Sorry. Age matters to me. Age matters to me. Nope, no tight ends. I'd rather draft a tight end and build one than sign someone who's older. By the way, what happened to what's his name? Burkhardt or something like that? Gary Burkhardt or something? He played for like played for the Browns. He was like really good for like 2 years, and then he just disappeared. Okay, defensive line. DeMarcus Lawrence, they're gonna franchise tag him. If we could get DeMarcus Lawrence, fuck yeah, get him. That would, phew. But I mean, defensive end is not something we need. So I'm not gonna look at defensive end because I don't even want to play with that. I'm gonna look at linebackers. We have Reuben Foster replace Mason Foster. We'll see if we can get someone to play Zach Brown. Clay Matthews too old. Brandon Marshall too. All these guys too. Jadeveon Clowney, I would not hate. Would not hate. Would not hate Jadeveon Clowney. He probably would cost. He'd probably cost a pretty penny. Would not hate Jadeveon Clowney. Preston Brown, would not hate. That's pretty much it. Mintateo, wouldn't hate that. He's an inside linebacker. So there's 3 right there that we could definitely afford. And it would fix a lot of our issues. So there's that. Let's see if there's any linebackers. I'm almost done, I promise. And I'll do a wrap-up of everything that I've talked about. Secondary, so let's just look at corners. Let's get specific here. Cornerback. So let's say we get rid of Josh Norman. What are we going to replace him with? Brent Grimes, maybe. No one there. AJ Gaines, that wouldn't be bad. Nothing stands out to me. So we can draft a corner or play the ones we have. We have young talent. We just need to build the talent we have. That's the key thing for me, is I think we just need to build the talent we have right now. That's my opinion. I think we just need to build up talented guys that we already have. Safeties, Trey Matt, no, he's been injured too much. If we can get him cheap, maybe, but I like what we have. No one else there. And strong safety, and that'll be the last thing I'll look at. And then I'll go over one more topic, and then I'll wrap up everything. Strong safeties. Jordan Richards, no. Eric Reed, yeah. On like a 3-year deal. Wouldn't hate it. Okay, so that pretty much sums up the free agency part of this video. I didn't really want to do it because I hadn't prepared for it. Sorry, this video is 42 minutes long. I apologize. But I'm going into good depth when it comes to this. So the last thing I want to talk about is we can also get players from the AAF. Okay, now I've been watching the AAF. I love football, so I've just been watching it. My favorite team is the Orlando Apollos. I picked that team long before they started winning because I like their jerseys. If you ever seen the the UTSA Roadrunners, I love their jerseys. Every time we had NCAA football for Xbox, I played that team all the time because I love the color of their jerseys. The orange blue mix, but in the guy with the arrow Apollo on their helmets, I like that. And Steve Spurrier is the coach, and I like Steve Spurrier. So there's a couple players in the AAF I wouldn't hate picking up or looking at least. The only quarterback I would consider is a quarterback named Garrett Gilbert. He is a quarterback of the Apollo. He's the only one that has consistently over 2 weeks consistently been passing the ball, like just throwing good passes and like matriculating the ball down the field consistently. No other quarterback has done that. I'm looking to see if there's no other quarterbacks been doing that. He also doesn't have any turnovers, or he doesn't have a lot of turnovers. If he has any, he doesn't have a lot. Luis Perez is not bad, but he doesn't have any touchdowns. He didn't have any touchdowns last week. A lot of quarterbacks just done like 50-50. Like they're only completing like half their passes. So it could just be coaching as well. Steve Spurrier is probably the most experienced coach in this league. So that could definitely be a part of it. But yeah, none of the quarterbacks are even close to him. So he's the only one I would consider. However, there are some receiving weapons I would like. Rashad Ross. Rashad Ross, he plays for, I believe he plays for the Hot Shots. Let me see if I can find that game. The Arizona Hot Shots. Yeah, Rashad Ross. He has been lighting it up. He's been playing excellent. There's a couple others that have been too, but he's just one that stands out to me because I know he's a Redskin. He was drafted by the Redskins. Another one that's been doing really well is actually on the same team is on the two guys actually been receiving really well since we need receivers. Receiving yards, Charles Johnson and Jalen Marshall from the Orlando have also been doing really well. I actually love the league. I want to do a video probably next on like just ranking the teams from favorite to least favorite or best to worst, whatever the case may be. And yeah, there's some other players that have been good. Like there's been good defensive players. There's none that I would say like blow me away when it comes to their talent. I would not get a running back out of this league. I would. It'd be. I mean, you're having Zach Stacy, who played in the NFL like 3 years ago or 4 years ago. He was a bust for me in free agency or fantasy football, so I kind of have a bad taste in my mouth for him. But he's not very good. You have Trent Richardson's in this league, and he's actually doing pretty well. So I don't think the offensive line's that good. I don't think the defensive line's that good either. So I wouldn't take that. I would take that with a grain of salt. There are other players like C.J. Hostinier, Birmingham Iron. He's a lineman. There's a bunch of them. I mean, I could go over every roster. I know there's a player on Apollo who's I think he's a linebacker. I would consider. Can't think of his name. He had like 2 picks last week and a pick this week. I don't want to drag us out anymore. So basically, with all the things that I've talked about, now again, remember, what would the Patriots do? They would get rid of older players. So I got rid of the 3 most expensive players on our books. I got rid of Trent Richardson, Norman, or not the most expensive, but a bunch of them. Trent Richardson, Norman, Trent Williams. I'm sorry, not Trent Richardson. Trent Williams, Josh Norman. Got rid of Jordan Reed, Vernon Davis, Morgan Moses, Zach Brown. So a lot of players that have not showed up, not been able to get on the field, that are just older. Got rid of those. Okay, added about $26 million to the salary cap. Potentially could get us new players or draft picks. If Josh Norman wasn't to be traded straight up for Antonio Brown, that's another $14 million I could add. Because there's dead space. So there's extra space I could add. There's extra things I could add to that. But with that, I got us a quarterback. I got us a receiver, an elite receiver. I got us more draft picks than we needed. We got us more cap space so we can fill spots. And going forward, we have a quarterback of the future. Okay, we can. And if Alex Smith comes back healthy, great. We have Alex Smith. We can move. We can still trade Josh Rosen. We could keep Will Grier. We can cut him. It doesn't matter. He's a rookie. See what he can do. It sets us up going forward to have a lot of options, and that's one of the things you need when it comes to draft picks. And we got like 14 players in the draft that could easily plug in and make us a little bit better across the board. So my name is JD. That's my video. If you have any comments, like, share, and subscribe. Again, I'm not trying to get rid of players so I don't like them. I like a lot of those players. But it's mainly about what is the best for the Redskins. Are we going to win the Super Bowl this year? Probably not. So is it better to keep Trent Williams for another 7-9 season or 9-7? Or should we get rid of him, replace him? We could still probably go 9-7, but now we have a player that can play for another 10 years. And maybe a draft pick. And maybe a quarterback. Just based on what I went over. So that's my video. Like, share, subscribe. Please be respectful in the comments. If you don't have to agree with me, if you're saying my idea is stupid, what would you do? Okay? My idea added $46 million to our salary cap that we can do in free agency. Added more draft picks. Got rid of high expensive players so we can bring in either more players or more durable players. Okay? I'm JD. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching.